Katie appeared, and today for you, I am bringing you my Voltron Season 7 predictions. Now, before I start this video, guys, I will let you know at the moment I have my window open because it is scorching hot today in Scotland, because apparently we didn't get enough sun, apparently last time we had the heat wave, what was like 2 weeks ago. So yeah, it is blazing hot right now, so I have to obviously have the window open or else I will melt. Yeah, I don't really think anyone really wants to see that, so yeah, I'll have the window open, so obviously there may be more background noises, so you might hear more cars. I know maybe some of you notice that sometimes you can hear a train going past, so you might hear that. But yeah, and maybe, hopefully, my neighbors can't hear me, because that'd be great, but I think most of my neighbors are at work, I hope. But yeah, so just to let you guys know, just in case, like, I will try and cover obviously most of the background noise, like in editing, but if not, that's just so you know why there's so much background noise. But yes, anyways, let's get on to the topic at hand. Voltron Season 7 predictions. Now, I bet some of you are all wondering, Katie, why are you doing predictions for Season 7? Like, Voltron Season 6 has literally been out for like a few weeks now. And yes, that is true, but if you guys have not been paying attention to what's going on in the fandom at the moment, or I guess regardless of, you know, the community and everything, basically we got confirmation that basically Voltron will be at San Diego Comic-Con, which is obviously the huge big Comic-Con that they have all year round, where basically everybody goes, like anyone who does TV shows, comics, anime, I think maybe anime, I'm not too sure, but I guess probably most anime too, you know, movies, etc., like everybody gets together and has announcements. And it is also being confirmed that at a Voltron panel that's happening on Friday the 20th of July, is that they are going to show the first episode of Season 6 to the people at the panel. And yeah, that makes, like, for my way of my logic around how I think we're getting Season 7 a lot sooner than we thought. I think mainly because since they are showing the first episode at San Diego, meaning that, you know, they've got stuff probably near ready if they're ready to show the first episode. Because they've done something like this before when, I think it was San Diego Comic-Con, where basically they showed the first episode of Season 3, and then I remember not waiting that long after for the next season so that we all know what was going on. So yeah, so I do believe that that means that we are getting, obviously, Season 7 very soon. I'll say also, just to clear up something, I've seen a lot of people think that because at the San Diego Comic-Con, a lot of people think everyone is going to see the first episode, like they're going to like release it on Netflix for the first episode, or like release the season like on the 20th like of July. No, that's not going to happen. They've done this before at another like event where they showed Season 3, but we didn't get Season 3 the day they showed it, so obviously that isn't the case. So I'm sorry if you guys were thinking we were getting it on the like literally next month. I doubt it will be in July. I don't, like, maybe end of July, but again, I'm not too sure exactly how the scheduling will work. But yeah, and also there is evidence that, if you also know, Voltron do these book things for kids. I showed it in like I bought those books as well, like Shiro and Pidge's. They are releasing Keith and Lance's books, I'm pretty sure, like at the end of August, and there are theories going around that basically they want Season 7 to be out before, because I think mainly in Lance's book, Lance is like, description of his book is basically saying him talking about growing up in Cuba. But the thing is, though, with the books, they only show things we already know are going to be happening, like the things we already know about the characters. Like, for example, Pidge's book, for example, in her book, we see obviously images from Season 4 with her getting bullied by obviously the other kids at our school. Pidge and Shiro's books were announced way before Season 4, so obviously if there's going to be stuff mentioned, obviously they would want to get the seasons out first. So, and of course in Season 6 we didn't really see Lance really talk about Cuba or growing up in Cuba or anything like that. The only thing we really got in season 6 about, you know, Lance being Cuban is basically his line where he basically says, "I'm just a boy from Cuba." So that's really the only thing we really got. So it really makes sense if you're going to talk about growing up in Cuba if we haven't seen like even a flashback of him growing up in Cuba. So that also would make a lot of sense. So basically I'm going to try and predict the date that season 7 will be announced, because I think we're going to get the release date at least like probably at San Diego Comic-Con. That makes most sense. Like once obviously they've shown the episode, then I'm pretty sure they will say, oh, it's coming out at this date. So I have my little calendar on my laptop here where I'm going to try and predict stuff. So again, since the panel is going to be on the 20th, I doubt we're going to get it then, because that would just be that wouldn't really make much sense if they're just going to show it there and then, because again, the people at San Diego are only seeing one episode, and I doubt we're going to see it for a while until obviously the release date, which obviously makes me really badly. I want to go to San Diego Comic-Con to see this episode, but unfortunately I'm poor and I live in the UK, so can't do much about that. But yeah, and so I think most likely it will be maybe around the beginning of August. But I think most likely maybe we are going to go for either maybe the 3rd of August, the 10th of August, or the 17th of August. They are the dates that I think are more likely to be when season 7 is going to come out. Again, don't quote me on it. Like, again, I don't work for DreamWorks or anything like that, so I can't tell you when they're going to release the season. I wish I did, but unfortunately I'm not. But yeah, because the Lance and Keith books are set to come out on the 28th. So maybe most likely the 3rd, 10th, or the 17th of August we are going to get Voltron, because obviously the new Voltron season always comes out on a Friday. That's one thing we always know, that is always going to be the case. So yeah, okay, so now that that's out the way and I've explained why obviously I think season 7 is coming out a lot sooner than we thought, let's get on to my actual predictions. Okay, yes. So yeah guys, before I properly get into the predictions, I will let you guys know that yes, I will be spoiling a lot of stuff that happened in season 6. So if you are not up to date, I'd highly recommend clicking off this video, watch the season, then come back and we could all discuss it. So yes, so obviously big spoilers for season 6. Okay, so as we know from the end of season 6, we know that the Paladins are going back to Earth, because at the moment they don't really have a home, because obviously they had to destroy the castle so that they could save the universe basically. So obviously they're going back home, but we know since obviously they don't have the castle, they don't have the teledove, they can't make wormholes. So it's going to probably take a bit for them to get to Earth. So I do think it's probably going to take maybe 1 to 2 episodes to at least get to Earth, at least. Unless there is a, unless, because we did see Hagar somehow opening a wormhole and everyone being shocked about it, and Alora did state that, you know, Hagar must have got an extra power for going to the Altean alchemist place. So obviously, if that's the case, if there's some way that maybe Alora could maybe make a wormhole on her own, like she doesn't need the teledove anymore, she now has the power to do it herself, then I can see it maybe not taking that long if Alora figures out that she could do that. But yeah, but if Alora still can't do that, I'd say maybe again, maybe 1 to 2 episodes before they actually get to Earth. Because they also have to deal with Sendak, which is also, you know, he's still a thing, guys. We still have to worry about that dude. And also we still technically have to worry about Hagar too. So yeah, so it probably might take a bit before that. But yeah. Anyways, the next prediction is obviously why I'm looking over here at times is basically I've made myself bullet points of stuff I want to talk about, so I don't at least try not to get too off track. But it's me, guys. Again, it's one of my prediction videos. Y'all know at this point that this is going to be a long one. Okay, so the next prediction I'm going to make is basically, obviously once they get to Earth, I do believe that we are going to meet a lot of, obviously, like Lance, Hunk, and obviously basically, well, Paige's mom, I guess in this case, but basically Lance and Hunk's families. So we'll get to meet them finally and see what they're like, especially for Lance, because oh my god, Lance is going to be one happy boy when that happens. I have a feeling that maybe Shiro doesn't really have a family, like, unless my whole theory that, you know, he's related to Keith is a thing, but I don't know. But yeah, so I don't think maybe, or at least he doesn't have any, like, family members that are alive, because obviously when we had, like, the whole, you know, Sam Holt is basically going back to Earth, everyone has message for their families, except obviously for Shiro, because obviously Shiro's just like, yo, tell Iverson next time I see him I'm gonna kick his butt, basically. So obviously, yeah. So I don't think Shiro maybe has a family. So I don't think we're gonna get any like reunion family thing with Shiro. So I doubt that's gonna be a thing. So yeah, so there's so much things because obviously we know Lance loves his family so much, and it would be great to finally see what's going on, and also to maybe answer why Lance never mentioned his dad when he was like getting upset about not seeing his family, because obviously he said my mom, and then mentioned his siblings. At the moment I can't remember his siblings' names, and then his gran, but he didn't mention dad. And I've seen a lot of people saying that it could have been that he was about to say dad but he choked up. But normally when you mention family members, you normally go mom, dad, siblings, and then maybe grandma, but obviously he just mentioned his mom and then the other rest. So obviously there's two ways about it. It's either that Lance's father is dead, or he is a deadbeat and he's not a really good dad, because that's the only thing I can think that he wouldn't like mention his dad for. So yeah, so hopefully we'll get that answer to it, unless again maybe it is just that he would not mention his dad. Otherwise, again, I don't know. But yeah, and also just to see what Hunk's family is like, because again we've seen him talk about his mom and stuff like that, so we know that Hunk really loves his mom too, but he doesn't really mention much of his family, so it'll be good to see if he's like comes from a big family or maybe a small family. And also we'll finally hopefully get to see what Pidge's mom is like and see what she's like, because basically the only thing we really know about Pidge's mom is that she was definitely a scientist, as Sam Holt mentioned about like how him and her met was obviously having those science arguments. So it makes sense that she is a scientist of some sort. We don't know what kind of scientist she is. Like, did she work at the garrison, or was she researching something else? Again, we don't know, but hopefully the season will answer it and we'll get to see it, like see exactly that, you know, brains just run in the family regardless. So yeah, and also just to see like how she's doing as well, because obviously now she has her like husband back, but obviously we don't know exactly how she'd feel about, you know, her kids, you know, fighting in this like big galactical war. You know, her daughter is in one of these like lion-shaped robots, and her son is basically a rebel like leader of some sort. So it's kind of like, how does she feel about this? Is she quite like, you know what, like very proud like the dad, or is she constantly worried because she's worried what might happen to her kids? Which again makes sense, because, you know, she thought she lost her husband and her son, so, you know, she probably doesn't really want to lose like her kids either. So it'll be interesting to see what that dynamic is, especially, and just to see what she is like as a person. But yeah, so that's all the things, her family. Also just to see if, like, are they going to hide the fact that Allura and Karan are aliens, or are they just going to explain that yes, these are Alteans, they are a different species, by the way, there is a basically evil race of aliens who are not all evil, but some very evil people might be coming to attack Earth, because that might be a thing. But yes, so okay, so obviously in season 6 we got to see a little bit of flashbacks with like Keith and Shiro's kind of backstory, but we still don't know like that much about it. Like, all we know from the flashbacks is that, you know, Shiro basically kind of looked after Keith. He basically obviously told the garrison about Keith and vouched for him so that he could be at the garrison And then of course Keith mentions that he should just send him to a home, so we know that, you know, Keith was at one point at an orphanage of some sort. So for me, it's basically like, what, like, is exactly else is going on? Like, we know the fact that, you know, Keith came from a home, so did Shiro adopt him, or did Shiro grow up in the orphanage too, maybe? Again, I don't know exactly what's going on there, because it's like, and also questions like out of Keith, out of everyone, why did Shiro choose Keith? Why did Shiro take him under his wing and try to help him out in the best way that he could? Again, there's multiple reasons why. Obviously, there is the whole that maybe he is, like, Shiro is somehow related to Keith's dad and their family, like either like Shiro is a half brother to Keith, or Shiro is like basically an uncle to Keith, who's maybe like Keith's dad's brother. Maybe, again, don't know. It's one of these things about it, we just don't know until we see. It could be maybe Shiro raised in that orphanage, and before he left he saw Keith, and like Keith reminded him of him when Shiro was younger, maybe. So maybe he wanted to try and help Keith out. Again, we don't know. But it'd be nice to learn a little more about why Shiro picked Keith. Like, what was the reasoning behind it? That would be really good to know as well. Okay, so the next thing is, obviously, we probably will learn the name of what Keith calls his cosmic wolf, because we didn't really get to learn his name. From what I saw, there was an interview with Laura Montgomery, who obviously is one of the creators for Voltron Legendary Defender. She talked about how the wolf's name is kind of a spoiler, so that's why they haven't came out and been like, oh, this is the name of Keith's wolf. Which is like, so how would his name like be spoilery? And my only conclusion is the fact that maybe he named the wolf after his dad, maybe? Like, that could be very possible that he named his wolf after his dad. Because that's the only really thing that I can think that he would call, like, his wolf. Like, there's nothing else I think that would be the case. But again, it's like, would that be really spoilery that he called his wolf after his dad? Again, maybe it's just that, again, they haven't told us, because another thing I hope that we do obviously learn in season 7, which would make sense if, you know, this ends up being true, that he names the wolf after his dad, was obviously learning Keith's dad's name, because we don't know. Even when we saw the flashbacks with like Crowley and Keith's dad, Crowley never once said his name, like said his dad's name, so we don't know. And yeah, and she never just mentioned the name, like she always just referred to him as your dad to Keith, obviously, because that is something you would prefer him to. But again, she never stated it in any of the flashbacks what his name was. So yeah, so hopefully we will also learn Keith's dad's name. See if it's like a freaking K name or something, I swear to God. So the next thing I want to talk about is the fact that since they're going back to Earth, we maybe can finally have a beach episode. Woo, because yes, we need a beach episode, because, you know, these kind of shows, you always need a beach episode. Because, you know, in Avatar, you know, they had the beach episode. Because, you know, the people who were behind Avatar, who are behind Voltron, may want to have a beach episode. Because, again, also, Lance did mention beaches is one of the things that he misses a lot about Earth. So it makes sense that maybe, like, I could see going to the beach being Lance's idea, because he will just want to have fun in the sun and just, I could probably see Lance being a surfer kind of guy, and probably Hug too. So they could be surfing, Laura could be wondering what the feck, like, sand is. And, you know, maybe, like, Shiro could finally be resting. Like, oh my god, Shiro finally having a little bit of a rest. Him just on a sun lounger chair, like, drinking pina coladas out of a coconut. I'm sure it wouldn't actually be pina colada, because obviously you wouldn't really have alcohol in a kid's show, but they'll probably say it's like coconut milk, but we all know it's probably pina colada, because he needs something after all the stuff he's been through. So yeah, that's, again, Shiro resting, again, another thing he can do at the beach. And also Keith needs to have some fun as well. Keith always seems to be out of the loop when everybody else is having fun, because obviously when it was the D&D episode, Keith was obviously, you know, dealing with the fact that he was, you know, aging 2 years and all that, so he couldn't have fun in that episode because he was away doing that with his mom. But this time he's together with all the paladins, so hey, Keith can finally have some fun at the beach. So yeah, there could be an episode where it's just a bunch of fun and Keith is a part of it, and yeah, so yeah, that's really good as well, that Keith will finally have some fun. So the next thing I really want to talk about is basically, I think we're going to get more of Lance's arc in Season 7, especially since obviously, you know, we'll get to meet his family, so obviously there'll be things that we'll learn from that. So obviously Lance will be coming into his own, and maybe we'll see more stuff for him, like other stuff that's going on, because I know a lot of people are obviously worried that Lance is going to be a rebound for Allura, which again I was worried about too, because the last thing I want for this boy is to be a rebound. Like, even if, you know, this is that, you know, Lance and Allura are endgame, I would not want their relationship to at least be because of a rebound. There was another interview that Laura Montgomery did where she stated that, you know, Lance being a rebound would not be good for both Lance and Allura as characters. It would, so she doesn't want that either. So good. So we know that Lance is not going to be a rebound in any case, which, yay, good. That's what I'd like to see. Also, you know, maybe we can finally see, you know, Keith and Lance actually talking and interacting, like, even if it's not romantic, you know, let us show that he is Keith's stability. Like, you have mentioned this, let's see it. So yeah, there's that too. Yeah, so I do believe that obviously Lance's arc will come into it more, and maybe we'll see him become more of a sort of second in command kind of deal, because I don't think Shiro's going to be piloting Black for at least a while. Like, if he's going to go back, it's not going to be for a while. I think Keith is going to stay in Black for a bit, so I do feel like it's going to be that kind of dynamic again like it was in Season 3, but obviously a lot better, because obviously we know Keith can actually lead now. So yeah. So we'll get to probably see Lance maybe, because Keith did consider Lance's ideas a lot more than obviously Crone over here. So yeah, it would make sense that they would interact. But yeah, and also being a clan shipper too, but that's besides the point. Hey there, so yeah, it is Katie from the future here. So basically when I'm editing the video basically as we speak, and I realized there was a thing about me talking about Lance's arc and I forgot to mention, so I'm just gonna say it here. I'm not gonna be setting up my camera because it's a bit too late now and stuff like that, so you just got my glacian. So yeah, so basically what I wanted to talk about when it came to Lance was basically when it was obviously revealed that Shiro died and he was replaced by a clone. Thing is though, we saw that Lance was pretty much beat up about the whole thing because he felt as though he could have prevented it, he could have figured it out, and honestly for me I feel like that is going to affect Lance a lot coming into the next season, because he's at this point I think he's just gonna feel really useless because he did not figure it out, even though he had signs knowing that there was something up with Shiro. The fact that, you know, real Shiro tried to tell him about it, but he couldn't hear. But yeah, so I feel as though that is going to get Lance, like, yeah, I think when it comes to that, that's going to affect Lance's arc a lot. And it might even get to the point where he might just think that he's no longer, like, suitable to be a paladin. He may just want to stay on Earth and just stay with his family, because we know that his family means a lot to him, and he might just, you know, think that someone else would be better to pilot Red. But yeah. Also, I want to mention, I was on Tumblr and I saw a post with an interview with Laura Montgomery and Joaquim, and basically they talked about basically Shiro's whole thing about what's happening with him, like if he's going back to the Black Lion. But from what the interview said, basically it said that Shiro is now a retired paladin, so he will no longer pilot the Black Lion. It seems like it'll just be Keith, which to me is like, what's Shiro gonna do now if he can't pilot a lion, if obviously, you know, the Black Lion now belongs to Keith? So yeah, that's gonna be interesting to say the least. but I thought again I'd let you know. I will, because I know I talked a lot about interviews and stuff like that I've seen with like the creators and stuff, so I will link you to the Tumblr posts that I found these. It is a Voltron news blog, and they basically post interviews from like whether it's like from the writers or the voice actors or anything, so I'll leave a link down below so you can check out the article. The article wasn't too far away from their dashboards, so you should be able to find the article and probably a few other interesting interviews as well. But anyways guys, let's get back to Past Katie. Yeah. Okay, so obviously the other thing that I want to talk about is obviously they're going to be making a new base, obviously, like at least on Earth, like a new kind of castle ship. So yeah, but I do think because obviously when the castle went into like the rift so that it could destroy all like the things, the holes that Lotor made, it did come out with this sort of crystal thing, so I do think that the crystal is probably going to be the best thing to probably help build this new castle. I don't know if it's going to be one of these cases where it's like you put the crystal in the ground and boom, you have a new ship. I doubt it would be that case, but I think the crystal will be important in some aspect. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see what kind of new ship it will be. Like, will everybody get like bigger rooms or something, or just anything like that? But yeah, it would be nice to see what the new Castle of Lions will be like. But yeah. Alright, so the last thing I want to talk about is basically, I feel like obviously the last episode of Season 7, I think we're going to get confirmation that Galra, the Galra Empire is going to attack Earth. Like, that is going to be a thing that's probably going to happen, because it would make sense since in Season 1, Zendak even stated himself that, you know, like talking to Shiro, like if people are more like you on Earth, then we are definitely going to go to Earth and obviously, you know, try and get more. But obviously, like Zendak was sent away somewhere, we don't know exactly where, but yeah. So it would make sense that maybe Zendak now will go to Earth so that he can enslave humanity and stuff like that. And of course, that will be when Voltron are trying to obviously save Earth. And obviously, you know, it would come true with like a key stream that he had when he was at the Blade of Mamora testing his like trial and stuff. So yeah, because it would make sense for the Galra Empire will eventually come to Earth, and I think that Earth will be trying to make its own stuff to prepare for it. Because I know a lot of people are wondering if we're going to get the Voltron vehicle stuff, which did happen in the 80s, which if you looked, Pidge's brother, who's called Chip in the 80s, did pilot one of the vehicles, so it makes sense that maybe Matt will end up with a sort of Voltron vehicle thing, because that was made by Earth. So it makes sense that they are trying to make their own kind of Voltron thing as well. So yeah, we'll probably see a bit of that as well. Again, I still don't trust the garrison. I don't know why. At this moment, I'm just like, I don't know if I should trust you. Like, did you bring Sam back to his wife, or did you capture him? Because yeah, just at this moment, I don't know if I really trust the garrison. But we'll see. Yeah, anyways, that is my predictions for Season 7. Tell me down below in the comments, what are your predictions? What do you think is going to be happening in Season 7? Are you excited about all the news we're getting at San Diego? Are any of you going to San Diego? Anyways, I hope you enjoyed this video. Remember to like and subscribe for more fandom content that you can shake a stick at. And see ya!